Welcome back everyone. Today's video is just going to look at the supernatural in Macbeth and their significance, because I know that's something that my students have been exploring and have found a little bit complex at times. So starting off, I'm just going to ask you to pause this video, and on a bit of paper could you just write down all of the supernatural figures in the play. Did you get them all? So they include the witches, Banquo's ghost, the dagger, spirits, the apparitions, so they're the visions almost that Macbeth sees the second time he returns to the witches. So think Banquo's descendants, the infants in the crown. You could also consider the incantations and the spells to be a supernatural element. Why are they there? Well, they serve some very important functions. First of all, before we look at kind of the complexities of the structure and the lessons within the play, it is important that we remember that the writer has a didactic message, so they're teaching us something. But we also have to remember that for Shakespeare, writing was a job, and he has to make money. He has to get this play on stages, it has to be approved, and it has to be promoted. And he needs King James on side if he's going to do that. And King James was obsessed with the supernatural. He even thought he was a bit of an expert. He wrote a book about witchcraft, spotting witches, the dangers of witchcraft. So whilst there are many complexities to the supernatural being in the play, they're also there because he needs to flatter. He needs to flatter King James, and he needs to get him on side. Right, let's look at the structure and the plot though. So they also act as a catalyst for events that occur in the play. So if you're thinking about your science revision, think catalyst, something that speeds up and creates reactions. They drive that plot forward. At the start of the play, they make the prophecies that will influence Macbeth's behaviour. Then they'll establish tension between him and Banquo. In the middle, remember that he starts to become more arrogant and ruthless, and they spur him on with that second set of prophecies. It's those prophecies that lead to some of the next biggest events in the play. Would he kill Macduff's family if it wasn't for those prophecies? No. Would that create a rivalry between him and Macduff? No. And that rivalry has to happen for the end of the play to occur. They allow the audience to spot when Macbeth's character is changing, and particularly when it's unstable. So each time he meets with the witches, his character declines. Each time he returns to them, he spirals out of control a little bit more. Each time he sees a vision, he becomes a little bit more unstable, or is already unstable. And part of your revision could be to look back at those scenes and think, what do they show about Macbeth? How are they allowing us to judge his character at that time? Because they're almost like a measuring stick that we're judging his changes against. They present Macbeth's mental state. At the start of the play, the witches show us his weakness for power. The dagger enables an opportunity for Macbeth to speak his thoughts on the night of the murder, and it's the thing that informs the audience that he is definitely going to do this. The ghost, Banquo's ghost, is a metaphor for Macbeth's guilt. It appears, he can't look at it, he can't talk about it, he can't think about it. And it's at that point that we start to realise how unstable he's becoming, because he cannot keep himself together in front of his public. And they show us the real effects, don't they, really, of betrayal. The second set of prophecies, as I said, make the events occur that will have to take place in the third act. And that is really important because it's going to show Macbeth's downfall, and more importantly, his own realisation of it occurring. Him accepting that it's going to happen. Think about when he says that they have him trapped there, that he cannot fly. Their appearance at the start of the play foreshadows changes that will take place by the end of the play. So we can look at that quite straightforwardly by thinking that it's them that plant the idea for him gaining power. But if we look at their words more closely, from the very beginning, Shakespeare is giving us signs that this play is going to be complex, that everything is not going to be able to be taken for granted. So think about one of the most famous lines of the witch's appearance. Fair is foul, and foul is fair. That blurring of good and bad from the beginning continues throughout the play. Macbeth's hugely respected at the start, but then he becomes evil. Macbeth gains things from being bad. But then there's this complication that it already implies from the audience from the very beginning. Shakespeare is giving us a warning. Who appears good in the rest of the play? Can we really trust them? Are good characters really that good? And then there's also Shakespeare's way of just questioning fate and free will. Do we do the things that we choose because we choose them? Or do we think we choose them and that's actually a path already set for us? Is it already predetermined? Would Macbeth have been king if he'd never met the witches? Was it already in his future? Or did he make it happen because of something they said? That's for us to decide. Hopefully that has helped you revise the importance of the supernatural. For some further revision, why don't you try and answer this question? How does Shakespeare present the supernatural in the play Macbeth? Have a go at answering it on a piece of paper and try and include some key quotations. As always, if you need any further support with your revision, head over to www.mrshillrevision.co.uk, or you could check out the YouTube channel and watch some further videos.